I'm Hannah Thibodeau. Welcome to the National Mobile. Let's start with the top stories of the day as of 5 p.m. Eastern this Friday. The number of registered child refugees fleeing Syria has reached 1 million. The UN says they account for roughly half the more than 2 million Syrians who have fled the country. More than 700,000 of those children are under the age of 11. Briar Stewart will have more on the situation in Syria coming up in just a minute. 2 explosions were set off today during Friday prayers in the Lebanese city of Tripoli. At least 42 people are dead and more than 350 are injured. Officials say the first blast went off as worshippers left a mosque. 5 minutes later, a second explosion near another mosque. The clergy at both mosques are known for strongly opposing Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad. Lebanon has been sharply divided by Syria's civil war. One of Canada's best-known parks is celebrating a big milestone. Vancouver's Stanley Park is turning 125 years old. It officially opened on September 27, 1888, but park officials are marking the anniversary this weekend, offering tours and traditional Aboriginal games. The park was named after Governor General Frederick Stanley. His name is also attached to hockey's top prize, the Stanley Cup. It was a battle of strength today at Toronto's Fan Expo, as Toronto Mayor Rob Ford took on 14-time pro wrestling champion Hulk Hogan in an arm wrestling match. So who won? Defying all odds, Mayor Ford beat the Hulkster. Ford says stunts like this help stimulate Toronto's economy, encouraging people to come to the city. More now on the crisis in Syria. There are growing demands the UN investigate alleged chemical attacks by government forces. More on that by the CBC's Briar Stewart and where it might lead.
Thousands filled the streets of Aleppo today chanting Ghouta, the name of the Damascus region where the Syrian regime is accused of using rockets with poisonous gas. There's been no confirmation that it was a chemical attack, but many are left with little doubt.
Clearly many hundreds of people have been killed. Some of the estimates are well over 1,000. There is no other plausible explanation for casualties so intense in such a small area on this scale.
The priority now is to get UN inspectors into the site.
I have called on the Syrian government to extend its full cooperation so that the mission can swiftly investigate this most recent incident.
Others have joined that call. Russia, a staunch ally of Bashar al-Assad, has urged Syria to cooperate. But officials there say they believe it's the opposition forces that are preventing inspectors from investigating. If and when it is confirmed that the Syrian government launched a chemical attack, the question will be what should happen next and who will decide.
We were troubled that the Security Council continues to be unable to take decisive action.
Last year, President Barack Obama said that the use of chemical weapons would be a game changer. But in an interview that aired today, his words were much more measured.
Sometimes what we've seen is that folks will call for immediate action, jumping into stuff that does not turn out well, gets us mired in very difficult situations.
Obama said that military intervention wouldn't be an easy solution. What he didn't say is just what the United States would do if investigators find out that chemical weapons were used in that latest attack. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Washington.
In Egypt today, supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi took to the streets in what's been dubbed the Friday of Martyrs. Derek Stoffel has the details.
Prayer before protests. This is the way Fridays have unfolded in Egypt in recent weeks after Mohamed Morsi was ousted by the Egyptian military. Today, the faithful came out to mosques across the country. The Muslim Brotherhood called on its supporters to hold protests when the services were over. They're calling this the Friday of Martyrs, a day of demonstrations to remember the 900 people who were killed in violence in Egypt last week. Most of those who died were Brotherhood supporters, killed when the security forces moved in to clear their protest camps. Today, the demonstrators held up 4 fingers. In Arabic, 4 can translate as Rabbah, the same name as their largest protest camp. This, their new symbol to remember those who died.
Well, the people who were killed, they died for something that they felt proud of and that we're proud of. We are here because we want to make sure that they did not die for nothing. They died for something that is the freedom of the whole country.
The army and police were prepared for the protests, out in large numbers, shutting off many major roads in Cairo. There were fears that the violence of last week would return. The protests today were loud but calm. Many of those here concerned about how the security forces would react.
We are worried about that, but what we're going to do, we're going to sit in our home like mouses. We are not mice.
But the size of these protests is a clear disappointment for the Brotherhood. It had called for a 1 million-man march. Thousands turned out. Almost all of the leaders of the Islamic movement are now behind bars, making it much harder to mobilize protesters. Yet a vow by those here to keep up the pressure on Egypt's interim government. It's clear there is no end in sight to the political chaos that has enveloped Egypt. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Cairo.
Be sure to watch The National tonight. Ian Hannah-Mansing will be rubbing shoulders with superheroes. He'll take you to Toronto's Fan Expo. That's 9 o'clock Eastern on CBC News Network. 10 o'clock local time on CBC Television. That's 10:30 in Newfoundland. And you can keep up with The National online. Our Facebook page is constantly updated with new features and stories. And you can follow us on Twitter at CBC The National. And that's The National Mobile for this Friday. I'm Hannah Thibodeau. Thanks for watching.